Friends, welcome back to the Brave New Wear Show. My name's Christian. Today is another exciting episode of the Advanced Aesthetics series, and we are talking about color harmony in our wardrobes. So, in the previous episodes, we discussed things like what inspires us visually, where can we draw authentic inspiration for our aesthetic from our life, and we also, in the last episode, looked at the idea of like a core wardrobe. So, since we've got all those pieces to the puzzle in play, I thought today what we should talk about is kind of what are the colors of our wardrobe? What are the shades that make up the different pieces that we got? For one, it's going to make picking out items or picking pieces easier. We'll be able to find pieces that are more harmonious with our wardrobe if we have kind of a sense of what colors go together or what kind of colors we're looking for. The second one is, just like anything else, colors can be trendy. That's why Pantone releases their color of the year every year. 2016 they did 2 colors. Those were both hot, trendy colors. This year it's just classic blue. They were like, you know what? Blue. I think they were being awfully optimistic about the presidential election, if you know what I mean. What I want to do is talk a little bit about how to identify kind of color harmonies, and then show you guys some tools and some exercises to get your brains moving. Do you hear that? Do you hear that noise? The trumpets of the angels. I think it is a noise announcing our 2 new patrons for the channel, Darcy Bell and Luke J. Thank you so much for signing up on the Patreon. And after all, I just want to remind all of our viewers, my Patreon is live. You can see a link down below. If you're loving the Advanced Aesthetics series, if you want this to continue until you are a fashion icon, I encourage you, take a look at the Patreon if you can. And as always, if you liked the video, please leave a like. And if you're new, be sure to subscribe because the Advanced Aesthetics series is just beginning. So let's get into that color action. Okay, let's start off with the idea of color harmonies. Now, as you probably know, colors are imaginary. We imagine them in our brains. There is a tried and true practice of understanding that certain colors will really complement each other. Just in the way that, I think it literally has to do with their wavelengths and how our brains interpret them. The most basic version of color harmony is complementary color harmony. That's where you take one color from one end of the color wheel and you take another one. And those colors typically work well together aesthetically. You've probably already seen these color harmonies IRL. Think green and red. We know those colors, at least like in the West, as being, that means Christmas time. Another really common color harmony is orange and blue. And you might not recognize this, but like there are so many movie posters that use this color harmony because these 2 colors together are very visually captivating. The next harmony is analogous. This is where we take similar colors, like we take one color and the harmony or like the palette is made up of colors that are next to it. It typically looks aesthetically pleasing. I think when we think of palettes, we typically are thinking of colors that are analogous. Next on the list is a triad. Think triangle. That's essentially, it's a lot like complementary colors where we're taking colors from kind of different ends and combining them. So this definitely creates a very diverse and like flavorful color palette, but it still plays off of the element where these colors are kind of on opposite ends, so they look very visually interesting together. How are we going to use this idea of color harmonies? Where is the application? All I know is I got clothes and they're different colors. How am I going to make a palette? Don't worry about it. We've got some tools at our disposal that can help us discover the palettes that were already there, right under our eyeballs. Alright, the first website I want to show you guys is called Color. Color. And this is a really great site. I've been having a lot of fun playing around with it. Basically, as the name implies, it's the super fast color generator. and you can use it just to kind of find inspiration and to essentially build your own palette. So you can look at some palettes that other people have made, and some of them are pretty interesting. Like this one I don't mind. This one is kind of cool. This is a good palette for us to look at. Let's see, open in generator. I like this one because there's a lot of neutral and earth tones, and that gives us a good place to start from. Let's go, come on. What's cool about cool colors, or coolers, however you want to pronounce it, is you can say, like, lock certain colors. Like I can say, I really like this, and I like champagne pink. And then by hitting the space bar, it will give you a new set of colors that have a certain relationship to the ones that you have locked in. And you can see, like, you can get all sorts of wild colors. And there's ways to edit it too. So if we wanted to go to, like, adjust palette, we can change the saturation, like make them really vivid. Or we can change the brightness, which basically, to me, just kind of looks like exposure. Alright, so here is my palette. This was my idea with this. I have dark, and then kind of like these different shades of gray, and I also have this bone white, which I think is really cool. And for my personal accent colors, I'm thinking I really like really deep, dark reds. I love reds that are like on the verge of being black, and I would love to incorporate that more in my wardrobe or even in like the accessories that I have. So I had these colors: rosewood, dark sienna, and then this is another kind of shade of dark sienna. I also really like olive drab. I think that's a good color, something that's really friendly and safe for me to kind of incorporate into my wardrobe. And in terms of like the authenticity that we've talked about in the past, this olive drab color and this dark sienna, like these deep reds and these deep greens, remind me a lot of the forest. Those are colors that are really natural in the forest, and there's something, I don't know, something familiar with picking those colors. The next website I wanted to show you guys, and it's super robust, is Adobe Colors. So Adobe provides this free-to-use web program called Adobe Color, and it gives you a lot of tools. So like on this first page, you can see we've got Color Wheel, and it's using a lot of the harmony rules that we were talking about before. And right now we're on Color Wheel, and it uses a lot of the color harmony tools that we were talking about before, which is really great. And we can go in here and say, like, let's say I had a color from my palette that I'm like, well, I really like this rosewood, but I'm not exactly sure where to take it next, and I want more, I want better tools than they have just in colors, which is very fast and fun. Well, I could take it into Adobe Color, press Enter, and it could give me like the triad of like these colors. And I also want to show you Extract Theme. Say we have a picture and we really like the colors in it, like this Alik's picture. I really like these tan shades. We can put it into Extract Theme, and it can give us some ideas about what colors it's recognizing. And there's different modes. This colorful mode, this was one of the inspirations when I was creating my palette. I really liked these different shades of red it was able to find, and I like these kind of browns. These are really cool. So the Extract Theme tool is really useful. If you go back to your Pinterest, you go back to some of the pieces that you were inspired by, and you're like, what are the colors in here? What should I be focusing on? Because I know I like these colors in this aesthetic, but if we want like a very specific like answer in terms of like, so we can reference these colors again, this is a great way to do so.
Mail's here!
Oh, look at that, we got mail from a subscriber. Huh. Let's see what they say. Whoopsie daisy, continuity error. Dear Christian, my name is ShadowLord69. I'm a big fan of your show. You're a handsome genius, and everybody should be watching and being a member of your Patreon. Thank you, ShadowLord69. I am a dark avant-garde master, and I only like to wear black clothing. What am I supposed to value from this experiment or exercise in creating your own color palette? Well, Dark Lord 69, thank you for the kind and very true compliments about me. So this is something that I am considering myself. It's like if you have clothing that is primarily black, what do you do in terms of benefiting from creating your own color palette? Let's go grab the computer again so that we can experiment with creating a palette that still has black and like shades of gray as the primary, but looking at like how can we incorporate other like accent colors that will work with this kind of dark avant-garde or just like generally black wardrobe. Alright, for my dark shadow guy, I use colors again. And see, we've got two pretty obvious ones here, Jet and Rich Black. Rich Black being kind of the neutral. And these are actually three other colors that, using colors kind of computer generator, thought that these two, if we lock these two colors in, this Deep Space Sparkle, this dark jungle green, and this fern green, worked well with this palette. If you press add in between the colors, it'll give you something like the in-between of the two colors you're looking at. Like we do it with this gunmetal. And that's pretty cool. This is an idea for if you're like the dark avant-garde, if you feel like you only wear black, essentially using colors, we can kind of get inspiration for what our accent colors will be. What the pieces that are a little different and a little outside of black could be by using basically this computer's algorithm. Hey guys, welcome back to Christian's Kitchen. Today we are making a pina colada. If you saw the last episode, I keep trying to make pina coladas and they're not turning out good. So we're gonna start with some coconut milk and a whole lot of sugar. So I pre-cut and froze this much pineapple. So apparently you put an entire cup of rum, and I mean like a Pyrex cup of rum. There's not even enough space in my freaking Ninja Bullet anymore. But we should get some of that sweet, sweet cocoa juice that we just made. Yeah. So friends, let me know what you think of this color palette idea. I think it's another really vital tool in establishing your aesthetic. And as you're establishing that aesthetic, I hope you're having a wonderful time, like I am. Ooh, baby. You know, putting it in the freezer for like 30 minutes to an hour really allowed it to get that consistency. And that, what do you call it? The reduction that we made with the coconut milk and like the enormous amount of sugar actually makes it taste sweet, like you expect a pina colada to taste. Because I made them like twice before and it kept coming out. You could taste the coconut, you could taste the pineapple, but it tasted very bland. And it just wasn't right, but now it's really allowed the flavor to come out. The obvious homework assignment is to use either Color or Adobe Color to make your own palette and have that as a reference. That's what I'm gonna do with the palette that I made, and I earnestly feel like it's something that's gonna really come in handy. It's something that I could really see myself using. Creating your aesthetic is not only just looking at the things that you think are gonna be really like congruent with what you already own in your wardrobe, but just like the accoutrement, the accessories, everything that's in your life. I think having an aesthetic set in place, especially if it's a color palette, is gonna really help. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you on the next episode. I really nailed it this time.